Hi guys, today we're going to mix up some milk paint. Yes, that's right. You can actually make a half decent paint, wall paint I mean, using milk. And let me tell you how this works. So any paint that you have basically has two primary ingredients. One would be some kind of a binder to hold everything together once it's dry, and a bunch of pigments, either white or color depending on what you choose. And when you make milk paint, you basically make the binder out of milk. When I say milk, I mean the solid part of milk, which is also known as casein. Uh, you can make it by curdling milk and filtering out the curds. That's the way to go. It's messy, takes a long time. So what I have done here is I have bought casein powder. This is sold online as health supplement. I'm not exactly sure if that's true. I mean, whether it's really a health supplement or not. But anyway, you use that casein powder, and then you need to dissolve it in an alkaline substance. I will be using borax to dissolve it, and in the end, you get sort of a glue to which you can add your own pigments. You can add clays as your pigments if you want to go 100% natural. You can add synthetic colors, and that's up to you. And that's how you make the milk paint. It works great with what I have here is gypsum plaster. So that's what we're going to try out today. Let's go. So you start basically by measuring out about 50 grams of casein. And to that I will add about 100 grams of water. And then simply give it a good mix till all the lumps have been taken out and you get a consistent mixture. Yeah, it smells really nice. It smells like fresh milk actually. And then what you do is you need to keep this aside for at least 1 hour till it's thoroughly soaked and all the lumps, like you see here, you see these lumps? That's no good. These are taken care of. You can keep stirring and eventually these lumps will disappear. Now for the borax solution, you're going to need about 90 grams of hot water. So this is water just below boiling temperature, and to that I am going to mix about 20 grams of borax. And hopefully I can do that without making a mess. That's close enough. Now, as my borax and casein solution waits, I'm going to mix up my pigments, and the primary white pigment that I'll be using is basically kaolinite clay powder. It's totally natural, and I'm going to need about, I'm working on a recipe by the way. So what you need is basically 100 grams of kaolinite. And we are going to pre-soak this pigment in about 200 grams of water. And again, the idea is simple. You need to pre-soak this and make sure that there are no lumps and you have an even consistent mixture. So, as you can see, by now all the lumps from my casein slurry has disappeared. There's one or two remaining. What can I say? I'm impatient. So, now that my casein mixture is ready, I'm going to add the borax solution, preferably while it's still warm. If it's not, you can always microwave this for 30 seconds and that will be okay. So then I add the borax solution to the casein mixture. And then you give it a thorough mix. And if you get the consistency of a thick syrup, that means you're doing great. And this actually makes the binder. Now I don't want you to mix the pigments just yet. This will still be slightly warm because the borax solution was heated up. Let this thing cool down, and then you can add your pigment slurry. And I can show you what my pigment slurry looks like. Again, as you can see, it still has some lumps, so it has some soaking yet to do. And you need to stir this often so that you get an even mixture. And then in about a half an hour's time, I can mix the pigment with the binder and my paint would be ready. Now, the paint is going fine, but remember, so far I've showed you how to make a white paint. For most of my wall paints, I use white as the base color and then tinge it, give it a slight tinge of the color that I want, which is not white. So you can basically mix any pigment that you want as long as it is stable in water. What I generally use is watercolor. These are sold by Faber-Castell as ready mix tempera colors. I got this online. This is blue, and I mix small quantities. I mean, these are very powerful. So in milliliters into the final paint to get the desired shade I want. I'll show you the before and the after effects of applying this paint. You let me know what it looks like. Again, this will not turn out to be a commercial homogeneous solid single shade paint. It will have some texture to it. It will have its own character. It will have some imperfections. I tend to like those, but it's your choice really. Another point to note is these paints tend to look ugly when it is wet. They're slightly transparent, so what happens is you might be tempted to put on thick layers while you apply them. Not necessary. When it dries, it will dry opaque and pretty nice. So put on a thin coat, let it dry, look at the results, and then go in for a second coat only after the first coat is dry. That's the technique that has worked really well for me. Again, please do give it a try and you will be surprised with the results. It's 100% organic. I am using here watercolor. You can just as well use ultramarine or some colored red clay and it would be 100% natural. But I cheated on the blue color. Sorry about that. A few weeks from now, I will make a video on how to make this, starting from not powdered casing but actual milk, curdling it. But that will be subject of another video because I have a whole new house to paint and it will take me forever if I have to make the casing powder myself. But I certainly want to cover that in a future video. Okay, so now my binder solution and pigments are mixed. And what I'm going to do is I am going to wash whatever binder remains in this pan with a little bit of water. And give it a good mix. Ladies and gentlemen, and that's just about it. That's how you make an organic paint from milk. Again, as I said, this is white. I will later mix the blue color. It's entirely up to you how and when you mix that. You can use a brush to apply this. I have tried rollers. It really doesn't work that well. It works really well with a brush, number one. And before use, you can certainly use this, but it's a little bit thick. So what I suggest is you mix this with slight water. When I say slight, I mean in a ratio of 60 to 40, 60 being the paint and 40 being the water. Hopefully, guys, you have enjoyed this small little video and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.